1 week ago, I created a poll on my YouTube community, and most of you voted for niche sound design techniques. In this video, I'll show you how I manipulated a John Cage interview and then processed it to craft an atmospheric and organic music piece.
It seems to me that we are all moving in many directions.
Okay, firstly, I would say this is not a tutorial. What I aim to do here is not to teach, but to inspire by showing you my sound design process. When I teach at the conservatory as a lecturer, I noticed that while my students have the technical knowledge, they often lack the courage to create, because they don't know where to start actually. Well, using noise is a very encouraging way to start. As you know, I'm obsessed with noise, because noise can be an incredibly powerful tool in sound design. It can add texture, atmosphere, and emotion to your tracks. By carefully shaping and positioning noise elements, you can create a rich, immersive environment that draws listeners in and make them feel like they are part of the experience. Okay, we got it. Noise is cool. But now you might be wondering why I choose to use an interview snippet. Not even the whole interview, but just the S sounds from John Cage's mouth. There are two reasons for this. First, noise, especially the elements of everyday life, is incredibly inspiring to work with. Even accidentally pressing a button during processing can completely change your perspective. The second reason is discovery, as McLuhan addressed in 1971.
I don't use concepts, I use percepts. I seek to perceive, not to conceive what's in front of me. And perception is exploration. And you do not know from one moment to the next what you're going to discover. It's all excitement and all discovery.
This philosophy is a guiding light in music and sound design. It's about embracing the unexpected, finding beauty in the mundane, and transforming the ordinary into extraordinary. This video will reveal techniques to elevate your sound projects. But before we dive in, I also want to mention my Udemy course, The Art of Noise. If you're interested in going even deeper into creative noise processing, its philosophy, and exploring techniques to elevate your projects, you might find it really enjoyable. You can find the link in the description. Our starting point is a 1963 interview with John Cage.
It seems to me that we are all moving in many directions at the present time, and that each one who is conscientious in his work and in his life must answer for himself.
It's a kind of raw material, a source of inspiration. To isolate the S sounds from the snippet and create a rhythmic starting point, I'm using a de-esser in reverse.
It seems to me that we are all moving in many directions,
which is normally used for the opposite purpose.
Answer for himself.
I set the threshold to a spot that sounds good to me. No rules here. And then open a new audio track to bounce the output from the de-esser. Okay, this gives me an 8-bar sample. Next, I just find a part that catches my interest. This sounds quite good. Let's add a compressor to this channel. I use a tube compressor to enhance the saturation feel. I set a reasonable input and output level. Now I do a quick and simple EQ process. A low cut to remove the rumble. And that's it. Now comes my favorite part. Adding a resonator instance to the chain. By the way, I made a more detailed video about processing noise with resonators only. You can check it out by clicking the top right corner. I'm sure you'll love it. Here, I'm testing the sample's response and actually just experimenting. All of these settings will change later on. They usually do. I create a new MIDI channel and add an emit instance. This is a Max for Live plugin that I often use, especially when I want to create a backcloth or an atmospheric element. Emit, created by Dylan Baston, is a unique audio effect plugin designed for experimental sound design. It captures and analyzes incoming audio, then emits it in various manipulated forms based on the parameters you set. It allows for real-time transformation of sound, providing endless possibilities for creating evolving textures and rhythms. With Emit, you can explore granular synthesis, delay effects, and other creative manipulations, making it an excellent tool for adding depth and complexity to your audio projects. Now I write a middle line to trigger Emit. I copy and paste compressor and resonator instances from the previous channel. This helps create two sound layers quickly that are consistent and speak the same language. Now it's time to bounce. To change our perception, let's isolate everything and just listen to the sound we've obtained. I did a low cut to remove the rumble. Let's listen the two layers together. At this stage, although I won't use it myself, doing some spatial design can be an inspiring idea. Without getting lost in complex parameters, just using the VR plugin can create a very delicate immersion effect. Writing automation is a good idea, as it helps to create panoramic movements. Hey, I didn't get a sponsorship from DearVR. I just love this plugin. Next, I create a shimmer reverb send. I want the sounds to resonate for a long time. It should be a white space with small sounds fluttering around like birds. For a more dimensional experience, I add a chorus instance at the beginning of the chain. I discover a suitable combination for the three parameters here. After isolating and looping the S sounds, another way to musicalize the resulting sample is by using the B-Reson CTRL plugin. This plugin allows us to trigger our resonator with MIDI signals. To do that, I create a MIDI channel and add the instance. What I need to do is route this plugin to the channel where the resonator is. Done. Now I can trigger the resonator with a simple 2-chord progression. Now we have a more harmonic and expressive result. To avoid the cheesiness of this result, I use fragments. Fragments is a granular synthesizer. It's a delightful way to produce abstract soundscapes. After, I add crystallizer. Which allows me to add a new dimension an octave lower, giving a more organic result. Since I don't want the highs to be so dominant, especially in the first part, I do an EQ automation. Okay. Although the output of this track is sent to a shimmer reverb, I still add another reverb at the end of the chain. My intention is to produce an element that sounds even wider and more dimensional from this track. Then I loop an ostinato brass passage and add it to this part. The brass is actually the only stable melodic element in the piece up to this point, making it a crucial element. Again, fragments helping me. To volumize the low frequency bands and give the piece a full feeling, I add a crescendo character bass drone. Here, I cut a single drone track and tuned it to sound the root notes of the chords I preferred above. Now everything sounds more full. It also helped reduce the feeling that the proximity effects creates. I add a soft kick drum. Just hearing a pulse is enough. Preferably you can sidechain your kicks to the bass channel. Now it's time for the most concrete melodic element of the piece. At this point, I use a keyboard and give it a more nostalgic feel with Mello-Fi. A simple but pleasant melody. You can think of it as the subject standing in front of the organic backcloth. The whole scene created for this element. Finally, I wanted to add a rain sound. For some reason, I love the rain. I think in this instance, tapping sounds complement this piece. They make it warmer and more familiar, like a place you have visited before. For now, I want to keep the arrangement limited to this, because at some point you have to stop. Especially in works like this, where you don't have to stick to a certain form, it's hard to say, okay, that's enough. Yet, there is no end to the additions. We are free. That's what noise design is all about. Maybe a simple vocal? Why not?
Use your resonators wisely. Let us make some noise together. Thank you for watching this. Leave a comment.
To get access to exclusive multi-tracks and the final version of the track, you can be my Patreon. Your support would not only help me financially, but also inspire me to continue sharing my passion for music and sound design with you. Thank you.